Hey horror fans, once again it is me, the Horror Miser Monty G. It's time to review another horror movie review, and this time I'm going to review, yes, I'm going to do it, I'm going to review The Exorcist 2, The Heretic. Now, Exorcist 2, The Heretic is a 1977 American horror film. It was directed by John Borman and written by William Goodhart. The film stars Linda Blair, Richard Burton, Louise Fletcher, and Kitty Wynn. Now, in this film, a teenage girl once possessed by a demon finds it still lurks within her while her priest investigates the death of the girl's exorcist. Yeah, someone really thought that we needed to see this film. Now, before I begin my review, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are asking me, Monty G, what are you doing? Why are you reviewing one of the worst horror films or one of the worst films of all time? Well, see, I'm pretty sure most of you know that I am part of a live stream called Night and the Deadly Venoms. My good friend Eric from Hey Internet, it's Eric, he actually reviewed a film that he did not like, Creepshow 3. For the group, and I myself decided to say, look, if he's going to sacrifice watching a terrible film such as Creepshow 3, I'm going to do the same thing, and I decided to review The Exorcist 2, mainly because of my reaction when Knight said he actually enjoyed this film. Well, I don't know if he enjoyed it, but that's what he said. So, here is my review of The Exorcist 2, The Heretic. Now, I'm sure everyone knows that I grew up during the 70s, and back then, movie sequels, later on horror sequels, were not the thing. Yeah, we had sequels to The Godfather of 1974 called The Godfather Part 2, and then, of course, Jaws 2 in 1978. But mainly for horror sequels, the only sequel that I can remember other than Jaws 2 was Dracula Scream. That was back in 1974. We really just didn't have sequels back then, especially when it comes to horror movies. Now, in doing some research, author William Peter Bately and film director William Friedkin really had no interest in getting involved in a sequel to their horror classic, The Exorcist. They felt as though this was just a one-and-done movie. It had a nice ending, and that was it. They weren't even thinking about getting involved with a sequel. But somehow, Warner Brothers, along with producer Richard Lerner, decided to create a low-budget sequel, and what we got is not only one of the worst horror movies ever made, but one of the worst movies ever made as well. It was just terrible, terrible, terrible. They should have known they were in trouble when Ellen Burstyn, who played Reagan's mother, Chris McNeil, refused to be in the movie. I mean, she said, nope, I don't want to be in it. I'm not going to do it. Now, while Linda Blair would return to play Reagan again, she refused to put on the demon makeup. Didn't want to do that, so they had to get another actress to play the demonic Reagan in certain scenes in the movie. Now, in this film, which takes place several years after the events in the first film, we have Father Philip Lamont, who is struggling with his faith after a failed exorcism, is ordered by the cardinal to investigate the death of Father Merrin. Now he heads to New York, where Reagan, who has no memories of her possession, is seeing psychiatrist Dr. Jean Tuskin, played by Academy Award winner Louise Fletcher. She's coming off of her Academy Award performance of One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Using a device called the synchronizer, Father Lamont begins to take a journey that will lead him to not only to the demon called Pazuzu, while at the same time trying to save Reagan's soul. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, when this movie this was just one of the few movies that came out during the summer I did not see in the theaters. I really had no intention of seeing it, and then after word of mouth, I heard a lot of people saying how bad this was. Now, when I first saw the movie, I had no idea what the plot of the movie was, or couldn't understand what the actors were saying because none of the dialogue made any sense. And it was just, Reagan smiles. She looks pretty. She smiles. She talks, but she has no emotions, which I'll explain later. It's a bunch of scenes here and scenes there. She's looking at the light flashing. The doctor's looking at the light, then the priest is looking at the light, and everything's flashing. Where's the tension? Where's the suspense? There's none of it in this film. Now, one of the main problems with this film is how terrible it looks. It looks terrible. Now, I understand that this film was made during the 70s, but they could have done a way better job of making this film looking halfway decent. I mean, come on now. We've had decent films in the 70s before. I mean, I understand they didn't have the technology then like they do now, but if you can make a film as great as The Exorcist was, There's no excuse for this type of film being made. No excuse whatsoever. Now, you would think that a director such as John Boorman, who was nominated for an Oscar for his film Deliverance, would know how to make a good film, but it seems like he was limited by the budget and William Goodrich's horrible script. The acting is flat, and it lacks any type of emotion, which is something that made the first film so wonderful other than the effects that we saw in this film. Now, as I stated earlier, Linda Blair looks very pretty. Like I said, she spends the whole film smiling, then she whines, and she smiles without showing any type of concern what's happening around her. Look, Linda, there's Pazuzu. Wow, that's a demon. I must be afraid. Father, come on, Father. Where are you going, Father? That's what she does throughout the whole film. She either says Father, Doctor, Father, or in the other scene where she actually helps this kid that can't speak, all of a sudden she starts talking, but she really shows no emotions whatsoever. This smiles and looks pretty. I mean, not even veteran actors Richard Burton and Louise Fletcher can do anything to bring any life to their characters because the script doesn't allow them to do anything. You know, they try to emote or show something like that, but all they do is running around, especially Richard Burton when he goes to Africa trying to find African boy Komodo, I think that's what his name is. But, oh boy. And I'm not even going to talk about the role that James Earl Jones plays in this film. And while it was nice to see Max Falsado back in this film, we really don't need to see him again, not in this type of mess of a film. It was just an excuse to bring him back because, you know, they had to bring somebody back since Ellen Burstyn didn't want to return, so at least they got Max Falsado to play in this film. He has a few scenes in the role again, but, you know, what are you going to do? Now, while the film did make a profit, it grossed over $30 million on a $14 million budget, it was totally trashed by the critics. I mean, they vilified this film, and you can't blame them. Now, what's sad about this film is how inferior this film is as opposed to the successful, scary, frightening, and terrifying the first film was. I mean, I truly do not understand what the producers and the filmmakers were doing when they were making this film. Because even back then, like I said before, we really didn't have any sequels back then. A lot of film people didn't think about doing sequels. It was, I think, after Jaws, because of how successful Jaws was, that's why we didn't wait that long before Jaws 2 come out. Like I said, as far as horror films is concerned, we really didn't see any sequels of horror films. I mean, like I said, we had Scream, Blacklist, Scream. I guess they decided to create a sequel, but sequels weren't the thing back then. And to come up with this, and after an incredible film as The Exorcist is, and this is the best thing you can do, it's an insult to the first film. At least William Peter Bateley's 1990s The Exorcist 3 made up for the disaster that The Exorcist 2 was, in which I will always consider that to be the true sequel to one of the best horror films ever made, and my overall favorite horror film of all time. Now, it takes a lot for me not to give out any of my bloody gold coins for a film, because I try to do my best and try to understand what the filmmakers are, because I know how difficult it is to get a film made. But if you're simply just going to put something as crappy, and it's not disgusting, crappy and poor, such as this, I mean, this wonky script, terrible acting, no suspense, no tension, no whatsoever, you deserve to get a big fat 0, 9, zip, none. I mean, they all deserve it. This was a horrible, terrible film. I know that there's some people out there that actually do like this film. I really don't pay any credence to IMDb, because I looked at that, and some of those people where they were putting on there were praising a film. I said, you know, that they're not, no. Yeah, I mean, it's like this. I think, out of all the times, I think only one, maybe two films. I know I didn't give any for Slender Man, but films such as this, no, you get none. 0, zap. So there you go, my horror fans. That is my review and video for The Exorcist 2, The Heretic. Did you like? If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, and share, because it does help out with the YouTube algorithm. And if you have actually seen Exorcist 2, The Heretic. What did you think about this film? Do you really trash it as much as I trashed it today? Make sure you leave your comments in the comment section below and tell me what you thought about the film. Also, if you're new here, please hit that subscriber button and ring that notification bell. That way you'll be notified anytime when I put new videos such as this one. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Money G, and always remember that horror rules. And I'll see you in my next video. I'm out.